We end tonight with two ingenious solutions to Florida's ongoing battles with wild reptiles. And for that, we take you to opposite ends of the technology spectrum.
A Florida woman beat out 933 other competitors and was crowned the 2025 Python Challenge champ.
Florida is currently fighting a losing war against a predator that has already swallowed the Everglades whole. We are talking about 18-foot monsters that have eaten 99% of the local wildlife, leaving the swamps dead silent. The state finally snapped and launched a massive bounty hunt to wipe them out. Thousands of hunters flooded the swamps, dragging out piles of massive serpents. But once the dust settled, officials realized they had a brand new disaster on their hands. The problem wasn't eliminating the snakes, it was figuring out what to do with thousands of pounds of toxic, hazardous bodies. The 17-foot problem. It starts with the silence. If you walk into the Florida Everglades today, expecting to hear the classic sounds of nature, frogs croaking, birds calling, crickets chirping, you are going to be shocked. In huge sections of the swamp, it is dead quiet. It feels like a ghost town. That is because something has eaten almost everything. We are talking about the Burmese python, a predator that has absolutely no business being in North America, yet has taken over the entire state.
Burmese pythons have only a few natural predators: alligators, black bears, cougars.
The numbers are terrifying. Since the year 2000, the state has officially removed more than 18,000 of these massive constrictors. And that is just the ones they could find. Experts believe there are tens of thousands more hiding in the sawgrass, perfectly camouflaged and growing bigger every single day. Some of these beasts reach lengths of 18 feet and are thick as a telephone pole. They are eating the Everglades from the bottom up. Raccoon populations have dropped by 99% in some areas. Marsh rabbits and bobcats are vanishing. So, Florida declared war. They launched the Python Challenge, a state-sponsored bounty hunt that brings people from all over the world to the swamps. We are talking about professional trackers, weekend warriors, and thrill seekers all competing to bag the biggest snake. In 2022 alone, hunters removed over 230 snakes in just 10 days. One 19-year-old kid caught 28 of them by himself. When the hunters return to the check stations, it is a spectacle. Crowds gather to watch as they unload bag after bag of coiled muscle. They stretch them out on long tables, measure them, and take photos. Everyone cheers. It feels like a victory for the good guys. But here's the catch. Once the photos are taken and the prizes are handed out, the crowd goes home, the lights turn off, and the officials are left staring at a massive stinking pile of dead reptiles. We are talking about tons of biomass. You cannot just leave it there to rot in the hot Florida sun. It becomes a health hazard. So, the big question that no one really thinks about is this. What do you actually do with thousands of dead pythons?
Another monster gone!
Oh my gosh.
You might think the answer is easy. Just feed them to other animals or turn them into food for humans, right? Well, it is not that simple. It turns out these snakes are hiding a toxic secret that makes them dangerous even after they are dead. The disposal method they chose was not what anyone expected. The mercury bomb. So, here's the deal. When people see a massive animal made of pure muscle, the first instinct is to think about barbecue. People eat alligator tail in Florida all the time. It is a delicacy. So, naturally, when the python problem exploded, everyone thought they had solved world hunger. Why not just cook the snakes? It sounds like the perfect plan. You remove the pest, and you get a free meal. Hunters were excited. Chefs were ready to try out python curry, python jerky, and python steaks. But science stepped in and said absolutely not. The crazy part is that these snakes are loaded with mercury. And we are not talking about a safe amount. We are talking about dangerous levels that could mess you up permanently. Here is how it works. Mercury is a heavy metal found in the environment. It settles in the water and gets absorbed by tiny plants and bugs. Small fish eat those bugs. Then bigger fish eat the small fish. Every time a bigger animal eats a smaller one, it absorbs all the mercury that was inside its prey. This is called bioaccumulation. Now, think about the python. It is an apex predator. It eats the big fish, the raccoons, the possums, and even the alligators. By the time you get to a full-grown python, it has absorbed the mercury from thousands of other animals. It is basically a swimming toxic waste dump. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission did some tests, and the results were scary. They found mercury levels in python meat were sky high. If you ate it regularly, you could suffer from nerve damage, kidney issues, and a whole list of other nasty health problems. So, the idea of selling python meat in supermarkets was thrown out the window immediately. They had to issue strict warnings. Do not eat the snakes. Do not feed the snakes to your pets. You cannot even leave the carcasses out for other animals to eat, because then you are just poisoning the vultures and coyotes too. This creates a huge logistical headache. Imagine you have 5,000 pounds of meat that looks good, but is actually poison. You have to treat it like hazardous waste. You cannot just dig a hole and bury it anywhere, or you might contaminate the groundwater. Most of the time, the hunters who participate in these challenges do not want the whole snake.
School is being unleashed in Florida's Everglades to hunt Burmese python.
They want the skin or maybe the skull as a trophy, but the meat is useless. It is heavy, it smells, and it takes up space. So the state has to step in. They have designated drop-off points where the bodies are taken away to be incinerated or disposed of in special landfills. It is a grim end for such a powerful creature, but people are creative. And even if you cannot eat the meat, there is still one part of the python that is worth its weight in gold. But turning a swamp monster into a fashion statement is harder than it looks. Skinning the beast. Basically, everyone loves a good pair of snakeskin boots. It is a classic look. For years, the fashion industry imported python skins from Southeast Asia to make luxury bags, belts, and shoes. We are talking about items that sell for thousands of dollars. So, when Florida realized they had thousands of these snakes right in their backyard, a light bulb went off. Why import skins from across the world when we have an endless supply right here? It seems like a win-win. You incentivize hunters to take out the snakes by letting them sell the skins, the hunters make money, the state gets rid of the snakes, and the fashion industry gets their leather. But here is the catch. It is never that simple. Processing a python skin is brutal work. You have to be careful. You have to skin the snake almost immediately after it is neutralized, or the scales will start to slip off and rot. In the middle of a hot, humid swamp, that is a race against time. Then there is the size issue. The snakes in Florida are wild. They have been fighting alligators, scraping against sawgrass, and getting bit by parasites. Their skins are often scarred or damaged. High-end fashion brands usually want pristine, farm-raised skins that are perfect. A wild Florida python looks tough and rugged, which is cool for some things, but maybe not for a $5,000 handbag. Despite this, a local industry has sprung up. There are craftsmen in Florida who specialize in tanning python hides. They turn these invasive pests into wallets, phone cases, and even pants. It is becoming a badge of honor to wear something made from a Florida python. It says you are helping the environment. The state encourages this because they want the snakes to have value. If a hunter knows he can get a bounty from the state and then sell the skin for a few $100, he is going to spend more time in the swamp. But there is a darker side to this too. It is a concept called the cobra effect. If you pay people for snakes, some people might start breeding them just to sell them. Florida has to be very careful to make sure they are eliminating the population, not farming it. Even with the leather industry taking some of the skins, you are still left with the guts, the bones, and the toxic meat. And this leads us to the most interesting part of the story, the scientists. While the hunters are out for trophies and cash, the scientists see these dead snakes as a goldmine of data.
Everglades. People are doing whatever the fuck they can to get the pythons out of the Everglades. These assholes have released pythons, and there's a real fucking redneck Jurassic Park going on in the middle of Florida.
Yeah.
You know, we care.
Every single snake that is caught tells a story. And what they are finding inside these snakes is absolutely terrifying. It explains why the swamp has gone so quiet, and it hints at a future that is even scarier. What they found inside the stomachs changed everything. The invisible invasion. Now, if you think the snakes hiding in the sawgrass are scary, wait until you hear the theory that keeps the experts awake at night. We know the state has removed over 18,000 pythons since the year 2000. That sounds like a big number. It sounds like a victory. But some researchers look at that number and they do not celebrate. They get worried because the math does not add up. based on how much food is disappearing in the Everglades, all those missing raccoons, rabbits, and possums, there should be way more snakes than we are finding. We are catching the ones that make a mistake. We are catching the ones that sunbathe on the levees or cross the roads. But where are the smart ones? Where is the main population? There is a wild, terrifying theory gaining traction that suggests we are only seeing the tip of the iceberg. The theory is that the pythons have discovered a secret world beneath our feet. You have to understand the ground in Florida to understand this nightmare. Florida is not built on solid rock like New York. It is built on limestone. Imagine a giant hard sponge or a massive block of Swiss cheese. The ground is full of holes, cracks, pockets, and underwater tunnels. Scientists call this karst topography. For millions of years, water has dissolved to the rock, creating a massive labyrinth of caves and tunnels right under the surface. We call this the aquifer system. It is where Florida gets its drinking water. But now, people think the pythons are using it as a superhighway. Think about the tactical advantage this gives the enemy. On the surface, life is hard for a snake. It is hot. There are alligators, and there are humans with trucks and thermal cameras. But 10 feet underground, it is a different story. Down in the limestone tunnels, the temperature stays cool and constant all year round. It is pitch black, which is fine because snakes smell their way around. And most importantly, it is safe. No hunter can reach them there. If this theory is true, it means the pythons can travel for miles without ever seeing the sun. They could be moving from one swamp to another completely undetected. You could have a team of hunters clear out an entire section of the forest, declaring it snake-free. But the whole time, the snakes are just 20 feet below them, slithering through a flooded tunnel to the next safe zone. This changes everything we know about containment. How do you build a fence to stop a creature that travels underground? You can't. And it gets creepier because these tunnels are not just out in the wild. The aquifer connects to everything. It runs under the highways, it runs under the farms, it runs right under the suburbs of Miami and Fort Lauderdale. There have been reports that sound like urban legends, but they happen often enough to make you wonder. People claim they hear movement in the pipes or see snakes popping up in storm drains miles away from the Everglades. The idea is that there is an entire shadow population living beneath civilization, while people are sleeping in their beds thinking they are safe in the city. There could be massive reptiles navigating the wet, dark tunnels right under their floorboards. It turns the ground you walk on into a horror movie. And this hollow earth theory also explains why they survive the cold snaps. When the temperature drops below 40 degrees, tropical snakes are supposed to die. But after every freeze, the population bounces back stronger than ever. How? Because the underground highway is climate controlled. When the air outside freezes, the snakes just retreat into the limestone caves where the earth keeps them warm. They wait it out. Then when the sun comes back, they emerge, hungry and ready to breed. The invasion might just be getting started, and honestly, it feels like we are losing the war. So, I have to ask, knowing what you know now about the mercury and the parasites, would you ever wear a pair of boots made from an invasive python? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more mysteries.